Economic Outlook continues now with the report of the most recent President Prabowo Subianto visit to Russia, which is not only a symbol of friendship between the two friendly countries, but also a momentum to strengthen the government's economic diplomacy that has become one of the main pillars in foreign policy.
During his official visit to Russia from June 18th to 20th, President Prabowo Subianto held a bilateral meeting with his Russian leader Vladimir Putin on the first day of his visit and delivered a keynote speech at the annual St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on the following day. During the bilateral meeting, President Prabowo and President Putin signed a declaration of a strategic partnership, an economic agreement that is expected to further deepen the two countries' economic cooperation, both in trade and investment. The signing of the economic cooperation is considered timely as it occurs when Indonesia is striving to further diversify its export market amid rising global economic uncertainty. The partnership is also expected to attract more foreign direct investments from Russia and other Eastern European countries to support President Prabowo's target to boost the economic target of 8% from the current 5% before his 5-year term ends since 2029. Meanwhile, in his keynote address at St. Petersburg International Economics Forum, President Prabowo reaffirmed Indonesia's steadfast commitment to maintaining a non-aligned foreign policy stance despite growing global geopolitical complexities. The president also highlighted Indonesia's economic resilience amid the growing global uncertainties, with the economic growth of about 5% when many countries suffered economic slowdown. Economic political observers hailed President Prabowo's visit as an important momentum to show Indonesia's commitment to play active role in promoting peace and stability in the international sphere through its non-aligned foreign policy. The visit has also significantly supported the government's economic diplomacy as one of the government's agenda further to expand trade and investment through a mutually beneficial cooperation. Russia, for example, has strongly supported for the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement or CEPA between Indonesia and the Eurasian Economic Union, which has been under negotiations since December 2022. During the trip in Russia, President Prabowo and President Putin officially announced the conclusion of the Free Trade ASEAN Agreement or FTA between Indonesia and the Eurasian Economic Union, which consists of Russia, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. The FTA agreement is set to be signed during the EAEU summit in December this year. The free trade agreement with the EAEU opens up new export opportunities for Indonesia, especially for key commodities such as crude palm oil and its derivatives, copra, coffee, natural rubber, and cocoa butter. President Prabowo's Russian visit was one of his important foreign trips after his 12-day trip to China, the United States, Peru, Brazil, and the United Kingdom in November last year. The value of the cooperation agreements reached during the Russian trip is far less than those recorded during his visits to the 5 countries. However, the impact is quite significant because the partnership agreement signed during the Russian visit would further boost trade and investment, not only Russia but also with Eurasian countries, where potential economic cooperation is mostly still untapped.
President Prabowo Subianto's foreign visits have significantly boosted Indonesia's economic diplomacy in promoting exports and also attracting foreign investments. Now today we will have a Zoom interview with Professor Aryawan Gunadi, international trade expert from Tarumanegara University. And here he will talk about Indonesia's economic diplomacy and how to make it more effective in raising exports and attracting foreign investment. Hello, good day, Prof. Aryawan. Welcome to Economic Outlook. Thank you for joining us.
Good day, Ibu Siska and all the TVRI world members. Good day, I'm from Perth. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, Prof. Aryawan. If you don't mind, let's go right into our conversation about the government's economic diplomacy. Now, as you know, Prof. Aryawan, it's been quite a busy year for President Prabowo Subianto. Just in the first semester alone, he has met so many world leaders from Turkey, from China, from Japan, and just recently he visited Russia and met with President Vladimir Putin. And just yesterday, he also welcomed Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, from Malaysia. That's right. Now, our question is quite evident that the government has put a priority on diplomacy in expanding exports and attracting investment through dialogues and economic partnerships and also free trade agreements. But in your expert opinion, do you think the government's economic diplomacy has so far been effective enough to promote trade and investment?
Thank you. Indonesia's recent economic diplomacy efforts encompassing high-level dialogues, new economic partnerships, and especially for the free trade agreements, have shown tangible progress in boosting trade and attracting investment. President Prabowo Subianto administration, especially in 2024, during 2025, the government prioritized diversifying export markets and securing foreign investment through strategic engagement. Indonesia, total foreign investment from my data or from my statistics, surged to US 55.3 billion in 2024, 21% increase over the previous year. So this, with active outreach for new partners and improvements in the investment climate, suggesting the diplomatic efforts are bearing fruit in investor confidence. So on trade, also Indonesian exports performance has remained resilience at about 5% annual GDP growth, even as global conditions tighten. For example, Ibu Siska, Indonesian trade surplus with the EU widened from US 2.5 billion in 2023 to US 4.5 billion in 2024, partly reflecting intensified negotiations and market access talks. Similarly, closer ties with India have propelled bilateral trade from just 4.3 billion in 2025 to 06 to 38.8 billion in 2022-2023. So President Prabowo economic diplomacy has also been effective in large-scale investment. As we know, he went to Russia. Even there is a statement from the presidents that he didn't come in G7 because the Russia already invited first. So because another reason he doesn't want to go to G7 because it's already invited by the Russia. And also now they have another commitment with Anwar Ibrahim, with Malaysia, from every sector: trade, investment, educations, and also the border of Ambalat. So they will have cooperation on that. So I think this is a good steps, that this is a good strategy from the government to be proactive economic diplomacy, and hopefully the export markets will be diversified and many investors who will come to Indonesia and cooperate with us.
All right, Prof. Aryawan, thank you so much for sharing with us your data and your numbers, which surely shows that these foreign visits by President Prabowo have been evidently effective in attracting investment and to expand economic cooperation between friendly countries. As you said earlier, also, Indonesia is now enjoying a 5% economic growth. But as we remember, at the beginning of the administration, President Prabowo said he wants to reach 8% economic growth. So with that in mind, do you think all these economic agreements, this economic diplomacy could be better served with probably preparing better? For example, maybe not just economic visits, but also combining such visits with trade exhibitions. What do you think of that strategy? What else can be done?
Yes, of course. Of course, achieving 8% is not easy because we still have economic growth less than 5%. But I believe that President Prabowo frequent foreign visits will be have a good and a high impact tool of economic statecraft. And many observers consider them that as this is like an effective approach to attract investment and expand trade. So we will wait about the impact of the President Prabowo visits. His state visits are often coincide with business forum, also involve Kadin, right? And deal signing that signal Indonesian openness. So, for example, Prabowo first overseas tour in November 2024 included China, the US, APEC meeting in Peru, also G20 in Brazil and the UK, and also the Middle East. That this will underscore economic priorities. So this trip produced concrete outcomes. In China, Indonesia secured 10 billion US dollars in new investment. In the UK, 8.5 billion by investment commitment was obtained. And in the UAE, in Arab Saudi, a suite of agreements, industry, tech, mining, infrastructure, health, and also tourism were reached. So this is a commitment and reflect the immediate wins to face-to-face diplomacy. So we will see that from Prabowo visits, there will be open a large business delegation and trade forum, of course, in achieving 8% economic growth. So we will wait because now, like yesterday, we have our Anwar Ibrahim cooperation, and also he saw that there's a lot of progress of our Prabowo administrations, and we believe that President Prabowo personal diplomatic outreach has been effective and can be even more powerful when paired with well-prepared trade exhibitions and business forum. So the foreign visit grabbed attention of the leadership level and secured broad agreements. So Indonesia will expand into non-traditional markets. Such a strategy will be key of translating diplomatic visit into last trade relationships. And of course, there are lots of trade negotiations and agreements that's been made between several countries, including Indonesia.
All right, Prof. Aryawan, as we know, there are also numerous comprehensive economic partnership agreements that we have with many friendly countries like Australia, South Korea, and also Japan, and the European Union as well. Now, in your opinion, in your views, have these comprehensive economic partnership agreements significantly benefited Indonesia? And if not, how can we better suit ourselves to make sure that these agreements truly benefit us?
Yes, thank you, Ibu Siska. Now I'm in Australia, so I can see that the relationship between Indonesia and Australia is really good. They have a good communications and good trade negotiations. And Indonesia has entered into several comprehensive economic partnership agreement, or CEPAs, and with major economic including Australia, South Korea, Japan. So this is under negotiations. The EU, and they still have begun significant benefits for Indonesian trade investment. And we will see the progress. Like CIPA, the Indonesian-Australia CIPA in force since 2020, has brought access for Indonesian product and professional in Australian market. While Australia was already a close trading partner, CIPA depends by eliminating most tariffs. Right? While United States, as we know, they put tariff in several countries. Now we are still in negotiation with United States, but the agreement opened cost cross-border and work opportunities between Australia and Indonesia in CEPA, like mining, healthcare, and finance. So we will see. Like in South Korea with Indonesia-Korea CEPA, came into force in January 2023 and highly eliminating tariff of the vast majority of goods. I think this is good for Indonesia. South Korea is one of Indonesia's key Asian partners with total trade, in my data, around 18.37 billion US dollar in January till November 2024. So this is with IK, Indonesia-Korea CEPA. Indonesia will eliminate 95% of its tariff lines on import from South Korea, and South Korea will remove 92% of its tariff for Indonesian exports. So the sectors like agriculture, fisheries, and industrial goods where Indonesia is competitive. And Japan, we see Japan. We have Indonesian Economic Partnership Agreement with Japan, has been placed in 2008, and a major amendment was agreed in 2024, and will assist or help Indonesia in automotive and electronic manufacture, because Japan is very, very strong on that. So we believe that also Indonesian product, if I'm not mistaken, 112 additional Indonesian product, like included fishery, tropical fruits, processed food. Indonesia will improve access for Japanese steel and autos. And of course, there's a lot of things. Like another else, like European Union, as we know that EU, Indonesia, although it's not finalized until June 2025, the EU-Indonesia is final stage of negotiations. And both sides expect to conclude it immediately. And we will see that the EU as a massive market, around 450 million people, and Indonesia, third largest trading partner. And we will believe that Indonesia export to EU could rise by more than 50% in the first 3 to 4 year of implementations. We will wait on that. So in summary, in the existing CEPA style agreement have on balance benefit Indonesia, as long Indonesia can take the goodness or the benefit of this. So it's securing preferential access to major markets, encouraging foreign investment, and spurring domestic reform. So we will see will be lots of benefit for Indonesia. Ibu Siska, thank you.
Prof. Heriawan, thank you for enlightening us with the latest updates from the numerous CEPAs that Indonesia has with so many different friendly countries. But unfortunately, we only have enough time now for one last question, Prof. Heriawan, and I would love to get your take and your opinion on this question about how should Indonesia reach out to untapped markets that is available, because we've been very consistent with our traditional partners, with China and with Japan, with the European Union. We are forging new paths now with Russia. But do you think there are any other untapped markets in the world that could benefit Indonesia in expanding our economic growth, maybe Africa, or do you have any other inputs on this matter, Prof. Heriawan, please?
Yes, okay. Expanding exports in non-traditional markets, as you mentioned, such as Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and Central Asia, of course, requires a multi-diplomatic strategy. And I believe that by our membership in BRICS, Indonesia will have access to the membership of the member states of the BRICS. And of course, don't forget, even we have an active foreign policy, we still have a good relation with the United States. We knew from the news that Prabowo has also have a call from President Trump. So we believe that there will be a good trade negotiation among them. That the most effective one, ground trade promotions and capacity building. So I would highlight it, the full approach as particularly effective. The first is high-level will trade missions. President Prabowo has done with his foreign visit to major economies. It is crucial to extend similar high-level outreach to non-traditional market. So a presidential or minister can execute this, and visit can open doors politically, but bringing along a delegations of exporters, sector association, and investment promotion official to immediate business matching. Like yesterday with the Prime Minister of Malaysia, President Anwar Ibrahim, it's not stopped until President Prabowo and Anwar, but the minister will have high-level dialogue, will have a high-level minister dialogue, high-level how to execute the agreement between Malaysia and Indonesia. And secondly, that partnership and follow-up, this is very important. One of visit or forum must be followed by institutional mechanism. And so we have to be cut off our bureaucracy. Joint economic commissions, task forces, and periodic dialogues ensure continuity of the agreement. For example, after reaching a framework agreement, seeing a joint task force to monitor implementation and resolve issue can keep momentum, right? So I think this is quite important. The third is trade financing and payment facilitation agreement. So this is very important for all the members and all the follow-up of the agreements. And another else is that leveraging international and South cooperation platform, Indonesia should utilize multilateral economic diplomacy channels. For example, that the Indian Ocean Rim Association, we call it IORA, the D8 Organization for Economic Cooperations, or the Indian Ocean Africa Forum. So we can connect with African and Southeast Asia market, as you mentioned about the Africa. Another else is that enhanced trade promotions and intelligence gathering. This is a approach to boost Indonesia's trade diplomacy infrastructure in non-traditional regions, I think quite important. And another else is that public-private synergy and capacity building. So the effective diplomacy approach must enlist the private sector as the partners. Once again, as the partners. The government can negotiate frameworks and MOUs, but companies actually trade. So this have to be included the business leaders in delegations, as President Prabowo has done. So I believe that all the process, all the steps, I think a lot of things that we can do. We can build our economic diplomacy. We can support the government that's for the economic growth, so we can achieve the target of the President Prabowo. I think that's it, Bu Siska.
All right, Prof. Aryawan Gunadi, international trade expert from University of Tarumanagara. Thank you so much for sharing with us your valuable time, and all the best for you in Perth. Hope to see you again on TVRI World soon, Prof.
I'll see you again. Have a good day. Thank you very much, TVRI World.